There's a strange thing about love, it doesn't arrive with noise. It doesn't knock on the door and introduce itself. Sometimes it just lives quietly inside your heart, waiting for the one person who will finally understand it. And somewhere in this vast world I believe you exist. The woman who will walk into my life not as a stranger, but as someone my soul has been recognizing for years. My future wife, the one I haven't met yet, but somehow I've been preparing a place for you in my life all along. I imagine a quiet island far away from the chaos of the world. No crowds, no distractions, just the sound of the ocean breathing against the shore, the wind moving gently through the trees, and two souls finally meeting where nothing else matters. I would rent that island just for us, not because luxury means anything, but because sometimes love deserves a space where it can exist freely. A place where we can sit under the stars and speak honestly about our scars, our dreams, the roads that nearly broke us, and the strange miracle that brought us together. Because the truth is, before love becomes beautiful, it is often lonely. Before two people find each other, they spend years learning how to survive alone. So if you're out there somewhere under the same sky, this isn't just a dream. It's a promise. One day when our paths finally cross, the world will... Somewhere far away from the noise of the world, there's an island waiting. Not the kind you see in postcards or crowded travel magazines. A quiet one. A place where the ocean breathes slowly and the wind moves through the trees like it's telling old stories. I imagine standing there one day, barefoot in the sand, looking at the horizon where the sky meets the water and thinking about you, future wife, whoever you are right now. Wherever life has taken you, maybe you're walking through your own battles, maybe you're laughing with friends, maybe you're wondering if someone out there is thinking about you the way I'm thinking about you now. And the truth is, I am. Not in a loud, dramatic way. Not with fireworks or big promises shouted into the sky. Just quietly, patiently, like a man who understands that the most important things in life take time to find. That's why I keep thinking about that island, because the world can be loud. Too loud sometimes. Cities full of rushing people. Endless screens glowing in the dark. Expectations, pressure, noise that never really stops. Everyone trying to be somewhere, become something, prove something. But love, real love, doesn't need that noise, it needs space, silence. A place where two people can finally hear each other without the world interrupting. So I imagine renting a private island. Just for us. Not because luxury matters. Not because I want to show off some perfect fantasy. But because sometimes the heart wants something simple, something pure. Just the ocean, the sky, the sand, and you. I picture the moment you arrive. Maybe you step off a small boat, the waves gently touching the shore. The air is warm, the kind of warmth that feels like the world is holding you softly. You look around and realize something strange. There's no crowd, no rush, no expectations. Just us. And maybe you ask me, half smiling, half confused, you rented this whole island? And I'd probably laugh a little. Not because it's impressive, but because it's peaceful. Because finally, the world is quiet enough for us to simply exist together. We'd walk along the shoreline with no destination. The ocean stretching endlessly beside us, the sun slowly painting the sky in colors that don't need names. The kind of colors that make you pause for a moment and remember that life, even after all the chaos, can still be beautiful. And maybe we wouldn't talk much at first. Not because there's nothing to say, but because silence between the right two people isn't awkward. It's comfortable. It's the kind of silence where you can hear the waves, feel the wind, and somehow understand each other without explaining anything. That's the kind of love I imagine, not complicated, not loud, just two people standing in the same quiet moment, realizing they don't need the world to make their connection real. On that island, time would feel different. Mornings would begin with sunlight slowly filling the room while the ocean hums outside the window. Maybe you're still asleep, the peaceful kind of sleep that only comes when the heart feels safe. And I'd sit there for a moment just watching the light touch your face, realizing how strange and beautiful life is, because out of billions of people in this world somehow our paths crossed. Afternoons would belong to the sea, we'd swim, laugh, maybe fall into the water like kids who forgot they're supposed to be adults. The waves wouldn't judge us. The sky wouldn't rush us. The island wouldn't care about our past mistakes, or the things we're still trying to figure out. It would simply let us be human. And at night the world would become even quieter. No city lights, no traffic, just stars scattered across the sky like someone spilled a universe above us. The kind of sky most people forget exists because they're always looking down at their phones. We'd sit somewhere in the sand, maybe with a small fire crackling beside us. The air cooling, the waves moving slowly in the darkness. And that's when conversations would start, real ones, the kind people usually avoid. You'd tell me about the things that hurt you, the moments that changed you, the fears you don't show anyone else, the dreams you're almost afraid to say out loud, And I'd listen. Not to fix you, not to interrupt, just to understand. Because love isn't about solving someone. It's about seeing them clearly and still choosing to stay. Then maybe I'd tell you my stories too. The failures, the mistakes, the lessons that only come from losing things you thought would last forever. We'd sit there under the stars, two imperfect people with complicated pasts, realizing that none of it scares the other away. That's the moment when love becomes real. Not when everything is perfect, but when everything is honest. And maybe one night you'd ask me why I chose an island. Why go so far away from the world just to spend time together? And the answer would be simple, because sometimes love deserves a place where nothing else matters, no expectations, no audience, no distractions. Just two souls learning each other slowly, like reading a book you never want to finish. The ocean would keep moving, the stars would keep shining. Days would pass quietly, almost unnoticed, but something deeper would be happening between us. Trust would grow in the small moments, in the way you reach for my hand without thinking, in the way we laugh about nothing while watching the waves, in the way silence stops feeling empty and starts feeling like home. The world moves fast. Too fast sometimes. People rushing from one moment to the next like they're afraid to stop. Afraid that if they slow down, they might finally hear their own thoughts. I've watched that happen for years. Cities glowing all night, people staring into screens, conversations becoming shorter, quieter, emptier. Everyone connected but somehow still alone. And that's why I keep thinking about leaving it all behind for a little while. Not forever. Just long enough to remember what it feels like to breathe again. Future wife, I don't know where you are right now. Maybe you're in the middle of a crowded place. Maybe the noise around you never really stops. Cars passing by. Phones buzzing. People talking about things that don't really matter. But somewhere inside you there's probably a quiet place. A part of your heart that's tired of the rush. A part that just wants peace. That's the part of you I want to meet. And that's why I imagine that island again. Because sometimes love needs distance from the world to grow strong. Not distance from people, but distance from the chaos that keeps pulling us away from what's real. Imagine waking up there with me. No alarms, no schedule. No list of things we have to prove to anyone. Just the soft sound of waves outside the window and sunlight slowly spilling across the room. You open your eyes and for a moment you forget about everything waiting for you back in the real world. Deadlines, expectations, the endless pressure to keep up with everyone else's life. Out there on that island, none of that exists. Just time. Real time. The kind of time people used to have before the world started racing. Maybe we start the day walking along the beach. The sand still cool from the night. The ocean calm like it's resting after a long journey. You might hold your shoes in one hand and let the water touch your feet. We wouldn't be rushing anywhere. No reason to hurry when the whole day belongs to us. You might look at the horizon and say something simple, something honest. Maybe a thought you never had time to say before because life kept interrupting. And I'd listen. Not the distracted kind of listening people do when they're waiting for their turn to talk. Real listening. The kind where every word matters. Because when the world gets quiet, people start telling the truth. That's something I've learned. Noise hides things. Silence reveals them. Maybe you'd tell me about the moments when you felt invisible. The times when you gave your heart to someone who didn't know how to hold it carefully. The nights when you wondered if real love even exists anymore. And I wouldn't rush to answer. Some questions don't need immediate answers. Sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is simply sit beside them and let them feel heard. The ocean would keep moving beside us. Waves rolling in slowly one after another, like the heartbeat of the planet itself. And something strange would happen after a while. Your shoulders would relax. Your breathing would slow down. The tension you didn't even realize you were carrying would start to disappear. Because that's what happens when you finally step outside the noise. You remember who you really are. Later in the day we might explore the island together. Not like tourists trying to see everything quickly, but like two people discovering something sacred. Tall palm trees moving gently in the wind. Small hidden paths leading through the green parts of the island. Maybe a quiet cliff where you can see the ocean stretching in every direction. Standing there, you might realize how small the world's problems suddenly feel. The arguments people fight about. The competition, the pressure to always be better, richer, louder. Out there none of that matters. The ocean doesn't care about status. The sky doesn't measure success. Nature has a way of reminding us that life is bigger than the things we worry about. And maybe that's when you'd look at me and smile in a way that says you understand why we came here. Not to escape life, but to reconnect with it. To remember what it feels like to exist without performing for anyone else. Afternoons might be slow and simple. Maybe we sit under the shade of a tree, the warm air moving lazily around us. You might read something while I watch the waves or listen to the wind moving through the leaves. Every now and then we'd talk, but not constantly. Comfortable silence would become part of us. The kind of silence that says we don't need constant noise to feel close. And when the sun begins to sink toward the ocean, the whole sky would change colors again. Gold orange, deep red spreading across the horizon like the day itself is slowly exhaling. That moment always makes people pause. Even the busiest person in the world can't help but stop and watch a sunset. Maybe you'd lean against me as the light fades, the air cooling just a little, and I'd think about how strange it is that something so simple can feel so meaningful. Two people watching the end of a day together. No audience, no expectations, just presence. The truth is most people spend their lives searching for big moments. Huge milestones, dramatic memories, grand declarations. But love doesn't always live in those places. Sometimes it lives in quiet evenings, in shared silence, in the feeling that you don't have to pretend anymore. That island would give us space to discover those small things again. Space to laugh without worrying who's watching. Space to talk about dreams that feel too fragile for the real world. Space to realize that love doesn't need constant excitement to stay alive. It just needs attention, care, patience, and two people willing to slow down long enough to see each other clearly. The world outside would still be spinning, people still chasing things that never quite make them happy. But out there, surrounded by the ocean and the endless sky, we'd finally understand something most people forget. Peace isn't something you find in places. It's something you create with the right person beside you. And sometimes all it takes to discover that peace is stepping away from the noise long enough to hear your heart again. There's a strange idea in the world that love has to be loud to be real. Big gestures, dramatic promises, perfect pictures that people post so everyone else can see how happy they are. It looks beautiful on the outside, but sometimes it feels a little empty. Because the deepest kind of love, the kind that actually lasts, is usually quiet. Future wife, I don't imagine our love as something the world needs to watch. I don't picture crowds, attention, or applause. I picture something simpler. Something calmer. Two people choosing each other every day, even when nobody is looking. That's the kind of love I think about when I imagine us on that island. A quiet kind of love. The kind that doesn't try to impress anyone. The kind that grows slowly, like the tide moving in and out along the shore. When you really care about someone, you start noticing small things. The way they look at the ocean when they're thinking. The way their voice changes when they talk about something that matters to them. The little pauses in their sentences when they're trying to explain something their heart hasn't fully figured out yet. Those small things become important. Out there on the island, with nothing rushing us, we'd have time to notice them. Maybe one morning we're sitting outside with 2 cups of coffee while the sun climbs slowly above the water. The air's still cool, the world's still quiet. You might be watching the horizon like you're searching for something far away. And I'd look at you and realize that love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone real, someone who carries their past honestly. Someone who isn't afraid to admit they've been hurt before. Someone who still believes in something better even after life tried to convince them otherwise. Real love doesn't come from perfection. It comes from recognition. From looking at another person and seeing pieces of your own story inside them. Maybe we'd talk about our lives before we met. The strange paths that brought us here. The people we used to be, the mistakes we made, the lessons that shaped us. There's something powerful about sharing those things. Because when someone truly listens to your past without judging it, you start feeling lighter. Like the weight you've been carrying doesn't belong to you anymore. And that's part of what love can do. Not erase the past, but make it easier to carry. Out there on the island, time wouldn't push us forward the way the world usually does. We wouldn't be rushing toward the next step, the next goal, the next expectation. We'd just be living in the moment we're in. Maybe we spend an afternoon sitting near the water while the tide slowly rises. You might be drawing shapes in the sand with your fingers while we talk about things that people rarely say out loud. What scares us, what we regret, what we still hope for. There's a kind of strength in those conversations. A quiet strength that doesn't need to prove itself. Because when two people show each other their vulnerabilities, and neither one runs away, something unbreakable begins to form. Trust. Not the easy kind that appears quickly. The deep kind that grows slowly over time. Maybe one evening we walk along the beach while the sky begins turning darker. The stars slowly appearing one by one above us. The ocean reflecting tiny pieces of light like a mirror for the universe. You might slip your hand into mine without thinking, and that small moment would say more than 1,000 dramatic words ever could. Because love isn't measured by how loudly it's declared. It's measured by how consistently it's lived. In the way we show up for each other every day. in the patience we offer when the other person is struggling, in the quiet understanding that nobody is perfect, but we're still willing to stand beside each other anyway. That's the kind of love I imagine for us. A love that doesn't disappear when life becomes difficult. A love that doesn't depend on constant excitement. A love that feels steady like the rhythm of the waves. The ocean doesn't rush, it moves with patience, with quiet power, with a kind of confidence that doesn't need to prove itself. I think real love is like that, strong but calm, deep but simple. Maybe there will be nights on that island when we sit together without speaking for a long time. The fire burning softly beside us, the wind moving through the trees, the stars filling the sky above. And in those moments we wouldn't feel the need to explain anything. Because sometimes the deepest connection between two people isn't built through words, it's built through presence. Just knowing the other person is there, breathing beside you, existing in the same quiet moment, and somehow that becomes enough. That's the quiet power of loving one person deeply. Not needing the world to confirm it, not needing constant proof. Just waking up each day and choosing the same heart again, even when life becomes complicated, even when the world outside gets loud again. Because once two people truly understand each other, once they've seen the truth behind each other's smiles and still decided to stay, that kind of love becomes something rare, something steady, something that doesn't need attention to survive. Just two people standing together, while the ocean moves endlessly beside them, and the world continues spinning far away. People spend a lot of time thinking about the future, big plans, big dreams, big destinations they hope to reach one day. Everyone is trying to build a life that looks meaningful from the outside. A house, success, stability, something that tells the world they've figured things out. But the truth is the future is rarely built in big moments. It's built in small ones. Future wife, when I imagine our future together, I don't see a perfect story. I don't see a life where everything goes exactly the way we planned. What I see is something much more real, a collection of simple, honest moments that slowly become a life. That's what I think about when I imagine those days on the island. Not a vacation, not an escape, but the beginning of something quiet and meaningful. Maybe one morning the rain starts falling softly on the roof. The sky gray, the ocean moving slowly under the clouds. We stay inside, wrapped in the calm sound of water touching everything around us. You might be sitting near the window watching the waves, lost in thought, and I'd realize something important in that moment. A future isn't something you chase, it's something you build with another person piece by piece. Conversation by conversation. Day by day. Maybe we cook together one afternoon. Nothing complicated, just simple food, the kind that tastes better because it's shared. You laugh when something burns a little, and we open the windows so the ocean breeze carries the smoke away. Those are the moments that stay with people. Not the big dramatic scenes, but the small imperfections that turn into memories. Later we might walk across the island while the wind moves through the tall grass, you talking about a dream you've carried quietly for years. Something you were never completely sure would happen. And I'd listen carefully. Because a real future isn't built by one person. It's built when two people start protecting each other's dreams, encouraging them, believing in them, standing beside each other when things feel uncertain. Maybe you'd ask me what kind of future I see for us, and the answer wouldn't be complicated. I see mornings where we wake up and the first thing we feel isn't stress or pressure, but gratitude. Gratitude that out of all the random paths life could have taken, somehow we found each other. I see evenings where we sit together after a long day and talk about everything and nothing at the same time. Stories from the past. Ideas for tomorrow. Quiet reflections about the strange journey that life really is. And sometimes I imagine us returning to that island again. Not because we need to escape the world, but because it reminds us of where everything began. The place where two people slowed down long enough to truly see each other. Maybe years later we'd walk along the same shoreline again. The same waves rolling in. The same sky stretching endlessly above us. But we'd be different, stronger, closer, full of shared memories that didn't exist the first time we stood there. You might look around and smile, remembering the first quiet days we spent learning about each other. And in that moment we'd understand something most people miss. Love doesn't stay alive because of big promises. It stays alive because of daily care, because of patience, because two people keep choosing each other even when life becomes messy and unpredictable. The future we build wouldn't be perfect. There would be challenges, mistakes, difficult seasons where things feel uncertain. But that's part of every real story. What matters is that we face those moments together. Not as two people fighting against each other, but as two people standing on the same side. That's the kind of future I imagine when I think about you. Not a fantasy world where nothing ever goes wrong. A real life filled with small moments that slowly shape something meaningful. A quiet laugh during breakfast, a long walk at sunset, a deep conversation in the middle of the night when the rest of the world is asleep. Those moments become years. Those years become a life. And one day we might look back and realize that everything we were searching for, peace, connection, belonging, was never hidden in some distant place. It was built slowly between us, moment by moment, choice by choice, day after day, a future written not with grand declarations but with simple honesty, patience, and two hearts that decided to walk the same road together.